Hi, everybody. Actually on time today. Woohoo! So happy Monday to you all. And I hope you all had a great weekend. Kind of give everybody a little bit of time to get on here. See, I was so on time, nobody else knows what to do. Hello, hello. Hi, Charlene. There you guys start coming on. Thought I was going to do live all by myself today. Hi, Linda. And hi, Linda. Barb, what are you doing in Ohio? Hi, Ann. And Kathy. All right, beautiful. Got lots of people. Hi, Renee. You know what? If I didn't have to do one every month on Facebook, I probably would be too. I know, Connie. Okay, so we're going to jump into announcements. So, tomorrow we have a couple things going on. On live, we have DDE. So they will be working on the next unveiling. For all of a sudden, I don't know what the right way to say it is. The next portion of our mystery quilt, our wallflower mystery quilt from Kimberbell. So we will be doing that on live tomorrow. And then tomorrow morning, we do have our virtual by Annie Potluck Pals class. That is at 9 in the morning. Okay. And then later on this week, we do have on Thursday, Friday, our OESD Stitch Trip event. It is a 2-day hands-on event. And due to that fact, and it's on a Thursday, that means Littleton does not have Sew and Tell. So, spread the word. Oh yeah, thank you. And we did do a post about it over the weekend, but just in case you didn't see it, letting you guys know again that we will unfortunately have a classroom, well, fortunately and unfortunately, we'll have a classroom full of a bunch of ladies and therefore won't be having our Sew and Tell. So that is Thursday and Friday for that 2-day event. Then on Saturday, the 9th, we do have our lecture. It's an OESD lecture called Hoop Camp. And it talks all about hoops and all that jazz. And then a week from Wednesday, we have Viking Club with Matt and Amanda. And then on the 14th, we have the Surged Wonky Log Cabin Table Runner with Kate. Alrighty, so those are some things going on here very soon. I do have I'm sorry, Barb. Okay, just wanted to make sure I said all of that stuff while looking at myself in the camera, but I didn't look at any of those comments. Why would I? Of course not. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Okay, and hopefully I unfroze, because it's definitely not cold in here. Okay, I have a cute little joke. It's called, I Found a Penny on the Ground. All right, I found a penny on the ground. I thought it might bring luck. And so I tried to pick it up, but found that it was stuck. I pulled a little harder, but it wasn't any use. I went and got a crowbar. Still, I couldn't pry it loose. I whacked it with a hammer till at last I got it free, but accidentally struck my thumb and tripped and skinned my knee. A dog then chased me down the street as it began to rain. I almost got run over by a taxi and a train. I slammed into a garbage can, which covered me in crud, and just before I made it home, I slipped and fell in mud. At last I climbed in bed, then felt a headache coming on. I couldn't sleep at all that night and tossed and turned till dawn. The penny brought me luck all right, but all the luck was bad. It left me bruised and beaten and extremely sore and sad. I knew I had to dump that penny one way or another. I'm feeling so much better since I gave it to my brother. Coming from a person who's got 5 brothers, I loved it. It was perfect. Okay, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that. And the hoop camp is going to also be in Littleton. So the 2-day event and the hoop camp lecture are all in the same store, all in Littleton. Alrighty. Me too, Rosie. Okay. I'm going to show a manager special because you guys know I'm horrible at it. So this one's going to be, we'll just call it, you're going to say sold studio if you want it. Okay. So this is a cutting mat for an AccuQuilt studio system. This is a 10 by 12 size. So a cutting mat for if anybody has the AccuQuilt Studio cutting system. And it is regularly $45 and we're going to do it on sale for $30. So, comment studio if you want it. All right, Betty Jane. Love it. Got your name writing on it right now. Okay, beautiful. That one was easy. Okay, so I do have a couple other things to show. We've shown these a couple times. Oh, that's funny, Betty. It definitely felt like an older sibling situation for sure. Okay, so we've shown these a couple times. This is the Tilda Dear Santa quilt. And there's an option to get it in 2 different colorways. So there is the plaid stone background, which it looks kind of like a powderish blue, kind of a color. It's really pretty, really, really pretty. So this is Tilda called Dear Santa. So that is a fabric kit that will be assembled by us. And once our fabrics come in, so that cost of the kit is going to be $215.99. Oh, okay. All right. So the studio cutting mats are back up for auction. Again, just comment studio. They are cutting mats for an AccuQuilt Studio cutting system. So, and they are the 10 by 12 size. On sale for $30, down from $45. Okay, so Dear Santa quilt, using some of the Merry Little Christmas fabrics, and some other blenders and things like that. So this is the plaid stone background. All right, Barbara. Beautiful. We'll just make an adjustment here. Perfect. Okay. Woohoo. And then there is a different colorway with a background called Putty White. All right. So same quilt and everything, same price, $215.99, but 2 different colorways, and I really cannot decide which one I like the most. I don't know. I really like this one though. I think I really like this one. So anyways, let us know if you want to pre-order that. The Merry Little Christmas fabrics that this quilt uses is also purchasable by the yard on our website. So I did put it up for today. And so look through there. They are the sweetest Christmas fabrics. Super soft looking. I love them. So do get those as a pre-order. They should be shipping out sometime in September for us to get them here. September's only next month, you guys. Shortly. So then we have another set of new Tilda fabrics, well, new to us. It's their chambray fabrics. So we have 28 colors coming, I believe. Currently, they're in the process of being put up, so keep an eye on those, but there's a really good handful to get on order now. They are $16.65 a yard at full price, and we are having them on sale for $15.80 a yard. So definitely get them now. I love these colors and how just soft they are. They're not really bold and in your face. They're just definitely me. Definitely me. So get those on order as well. And as soon as they are hot and heavy here in our store, we will get them cut for you. Alrighty. I think those were all of my announcements. Perfect. Okay, so today's project is working on our next Riley Blake tabletop banner. So this one's not Kitten Around. Isn't that super cute? So we're going to get working on this block here. And lots of little cuts and pieces. I will turn my camera around. You guys can see how, figure out how to do this. So I've got all of my parts and pieces cut, labeled with my alpha clips. Absolutely necessary for a project like this when you have tons of little pieces. So I did get a little bit of a head start on some of these. So I will show you what I did. So in our instructions, we're going to do half square triangles first, making those. So you have an R and a J piece, which are over here. Okay, R and J, you're going to, there might be a couple, Patty, I'm sorry. It goes together really cute though. So R and J, right sides together. I did draw a diagonal down one fabric, and we are going to stitch 1/4 inch on each side. You're going to do this 6 times for the R and J pieces to make 12 half square triangles. Okay, so we're going to stitch 1/4 inch down each side here. So one side there. And one side here. Alrighty, then once you've done this 6 times, we are going to trim right on our drawn line. Gives us 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, which gives you 2 half square triangles. So I'm going to press these. I pressed all of mine to the orange. Okay. They know how to get you, huh, Patty? Thanks, Barb. Okay, so again, you're gonna have 12 of these. So you can go ahead and press those. And again, I pressed all of mine to the orange. It doesn't exactly matter which way for going to piece them again. So I just press mine to the dark because that's usually our rule, right? And then just to be doubly sure, I'm going to check them for their size. When you do these 2 pieces, they're going to finish at 1.5 inches so I've got my adorable little 2.5-inch ruler right here. I love little things, so I like that it's itsy bitsy. Okay, so I've got my rotating cutting mat, which is definitely not in a spot where I'm going to be able to rotate it, so that's okay. So I'm going to take my seam and I'm going to line up on the ruler with the 45-degree line, which is my little dotted line here. And I'm going to line that up on my seam. And I just want to make sure that I can cut this to 1.5 inches. That is what I said, right? Yeah, 1.5 inches. Okay, and then I will trim off anything extra on the first 2 sides. Then I'm going to flip it around, reline up on my seam, and trim off whatever's extra there. Alrighty. All right, so there's a small little haircut on one side. I'm gonna turn it around here and do a small little haircut on these 2 sides. And then I'm gonna do it for my other half square triangle that we made. Okay, so I'm going to take that one, put it aside, and do the same thing for the other one. So we're going to line up our 45-degree line with our seam. And what I'll typically do is when I line up when I make my first cut, I will kind of keep it as close to this corner up here as I can and trim off the least amount that it looks like I can, because I'd rather trim off a little bit there, be able to flip around and really make sure I have that right dimension that I need to cut my square to, and cut more on the second pass. So that way I don't accidentally cut it too small. Because that's never happened before. Okay, so I have 2 1.5-inch half square triangles. Okay, I'm gonna put those aside, and my little rotary cutting mat. Perfect. Okay, so again, you're going to make 12 of those. Then we're gonna take an A and a K piece, and we're going to do the same thing. They are cut to a different size. Okay, so we're going to make a different sized half square triangle, but it's going to be the same process. Okay, so I've got them right sides together, drew that diagonal line, and stitching 1/4 inch on each side. All right, and then for this one, you're going to make 4 of these, 4 half square triangles. So once we trim it on our drawn line here, we'll have 2, and then you'll do another pair of these to make 4 total. Okay, again, I'm going to press these ones. I still pressed to the orange, just to keep things consistent, you know. And then we'll do both of those. And then we're going to trim these down to 1 1/4 inch. Alrighty. Oops, I pressed this one to the yellow. I definitely said I was going to do it to orange. Oh well. Okay, so then we're going to press these or cut these to 1 1/4 inch squares. So getting my cutting mat, grabbing my little ruler again. Turn you guys this way so you can see. Okay, so I'm gonna, again, still follow that 45-degree line with my seam, kind of getting myself all the way up in this corner as much as possible. And trimming off just this tiniest little bit. So that way I don't accidentally cut my block too small. Okay, then I'm gonna flip it around, reline up, and now line up everything on my 1 1/4 mark here. So 1 1/4, 1 1/4, and then everything else gets trimmed off. Okay, so there's one of those, and then we'll do the last one. And again, you will need 4 of these. All right, so 4 of those little guys. All right, tuck this up and away. All right, then we're gonna do some more building here. So, yeah. Okay, so then I need my CC pieces. Diane, we are working on the next Riley Blake tabletop banners. This one is adorable. Isn't he cute? Okay, so we need our CC piece, and then we need 2 Z pieces. And we're going to do a stitch and flip method. Okay, so let me turn you guys around. See if I can sew with you guys like right in the middle. Okay, so I need to move my needle to center place. And we're going to line up one corner here. Okay, and we're going to stitch on the diagonal. So for this one, I don't necessarily need, it's a pretty small piece, so I don't really need to mark it. And I kind of don't even really need to turn my laser on. All right. Make sure they're right sides together. Okay, so we've got one stitched in the corner right there. Okay, we're going to flip this and press it. Okay, then we're going to rotate it and we're going to put another white one in the corner over here. So we're going to stitch 2 parallel lines. Okay, so now we're going to stitch this way to make it parallel with this seam that we just did. Make sure you've got all your edges nice and lined up. And stitch on the diagonal. Alrighty, and again we're going to flip this and press it so we get a little green channel in the center. And then I will cut away the excess underneath each corner here So the green and the white that I don't need. So we'll just trim that about 1/4 of an inch to get rid of that bulk. Alrighty, you are going to need to make 3 of these. Okay, so 3 units, like, I can't, no depth perception looking through the camera. 3 of these units. Then we're going to do some more building here with using the stitch and flip method. So I need to have an eye piece and a BB, which are our lovely 1-inch pieces. And we're going to, and of course now I'm getting picky because I was like, oh, I've got the little flowers over here, so I'm going to add it to this corner down here. This is why one of my things where it's like, should OCD people really sew? Because I could seriously sit here and obsess over that for forever. Okay, so we've lined it up in one corner, and we're going to stitch again straight on the diagonal. All right, we will flip it, press it, trim it. I like that. Kind of sounds like the whole bop it thing. Okay, and then trim off the back. Okay, so you need 1 of those. Then you need an H and a Z. Good, I'm not the only one that suffers. And we're pretty much going to do the same thing. We're going to add it to one side because it's going to be the same size. Okay, and then we will stitch on the diagonal. Oh, thank goodness I'm wearing black pants. I almost sewed it with the right side up. Okay, so we're adding it to the right side of our unit, of our H piece, and so we're going to sew the diagonal from the center down to the bottom corner, okay? So don't flip it this way and sew something different, okay? Alrighty, then we're gonna stitch or flip. What did I say? Flip, press, and trim or cut. I don't even remember anymore. Alrighty, and then trim what we don't need, and then we're gonna set that aside. Then we're going to take our T fabric. Yep, that one. And we're going to take 2 G pieces. These are going to go right side down in each corner, and we will stitch on each side outside to the inside. Or I'm actually going to flip it over to stitch that so that I can stitch from inside to outside so I don't get hung up in the corners. Sometimes if you stitch from the corner right there, it kind of gets stuck in your needle plate area. So I would prefer to start from the center of the fabric. Okay, then I'm gonna just pivot this way. He's a little curly. I'm gonna press him flat. Much better. All right, so again, corner to corner. Okay, so these are going to get flipped out and then we'll trim. I think these are his ears. All right, and then I'm going to cut away what I don't need from the back. Okay, and then we're going to set this piece aside. All right, then we're going to take an L fabric, and then we're going to take a U, this one's going to go in the corner here, and then we're going to take a G and stick this one in the other corner, and it's going to get stitched the same way we did this last unit. Okay, so I want it to go from the inside out, so I'm going to flip them this upside down to make sure I can start from the inside. All right, then we're going to add this one. Stitch from the center out. And then we will flip, press, and trim. All right, and then we will snip off this. All right, so we'll have a unit like this. Okay, and then we're going to make the same kind of unit, but it'll be opposite. So what I mean by that is with this one, we did them from the center out, going bottom up. This next one, we're going to take the same pieces, so an L, a U, and a G. they're going to go on the same sides. But we're going to go top down from inside outside. It really makes a difference, I promise. That piece is a little curly, so I'm gonna press it flat. All right, and then we're gonna flip those. Okay. So that way we have this one with a kind of making a peak, and this one's kind of making a valley. All right, and then again, we're just gonna trim. All right, so again, we're gonna have two opposite units like that. Okay, we're gonna set these aside. Then we're going to take our E fabric. What, Cherry? Hi, birdie. Cherry, did you need me to go over something again? Let me know. Okay, so we have an E piece. Then we're going to take two of our BB fabrics. And these ones, this one and the next unit, I need to like remember which one's which. So E has the white in the top. It's okay, Cherry. They essentially are the same thing. Okay, so, but if I flipped this one around, then I would have black on the opposite, white on the opposites. And I need them to be whites on one side, blacks on the other side, but the peaks need to be opposite ways. So the technique was exactly identical. It was just different from stitching from the bottom down or the bottom up, or the top down or the bottom up was the difference. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so E with our two BB pieces, they are going to go in the corners. Okay, we're going to stitch right down the center on the diagonal. And this one has a little flipped up corner, so I'm just going to press that flat so that it doesn't cause me any issues. Okay, so again, this is our E unit. So I'm actually going to put my clip back on that says E, once I find wherever the heck I just put it. So that I remember that that's what this is. But I'm going to press these, so flip these out and press them and trim them. And the reason why I'm kind of making sure I relabel it is because the next unit almost looks exactly the same. There's a very small size difference. And so when I sewed out the first sample, it was kind of hard for me to remember which one was which. Okay, so this is our D fabric. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to get 2 B pieces. And we're going to stitch these in the corners, but they're going to go in the bottom corners. So, I mean, at that point, like top, bottom, you can just turn it around. It doesn't really matter which corners you really lay them out on, as long as it's your rectangle is wide and not tall and narrow. Okay, so we're going to put them in the 2 corners here. All right, then we're going to flip and press and trim. Okay, and so here's what I'm saying. They are virtually identical. This one's orientation goes this way, but just a little bit of a size difference. So when I needed to grab, one unit over the other, I couldn't remember which one was which. So we're just gonna reclip D on this one so that now I know. All right, and then we're going to grab an S fabric and a G, and we're almost done with our stitch and flips. Okay, so our G fabric is going to go in the bottom, and we're going to stitch it, so bottom, and we're going to stitch it from left to right. And that diagonal does make a difference. So make sure you do sew them the right way. Okay, we're going to flip this one down, press and trim so that our unit looks like this. Okay. All these diagonals do make a difference, so make sure you're stitching them in the right direction. Otherwise, you never know. The cat might have an extra kink in the tail, or something's going to be wonky. All right, our last stitch and flip is our F fabric. Tall and skinny, and our Z which they are somewhere, in my mess of stuff here. Well, it disappeared on me. They're doing great at hide and seek right now. Yeah, I labeled them wrong to begin with. Okay, that was why I could not find them. Imagine that. Okay, so our Z pieces, we're going to do one in the bottom bottom right corner with that diagonal going this direction, okay? This is like the definition of one of Paula's getting ready to get ready projects. All right, and then we're gonna do our other Z piece in the top left corner, stitching parallel to the other line that we just did. Okay, so if I fold and bring it up, we went this way, so we're also gonna go this way. Okay. All right, we're gonna flip these, press them, trim them. All right, so this is kind of all that we've got for our stitch and flips and kind of like our prep, I guess, is really what it feels like. So now we can actually start assembling our little units here. Okay, so we're actually going to kind of go back to some of the first pieces that we made. So we have our half square triangles. Okay, we're gonna take 4 of those. All right, we're gonna do 2 this way with a U piece at the top. Then we're going to take another half square triangle this way, a yellow center, which is a B fabric. Then we're going to put an N here, an N here, another triangle, and our little stem unit. And we're going to make our cute little leaf. Okay, so I did mine in rows, so I'm just gonna continue doing that so that I stay consistent. Okay, and we're gonna go back to our 1/4 inch, and we're just gonna create our little rows. Make sure we don't accidentally turn these around and stuff as we add them on. It's very, very easy to do. May or may not have done it when I've sewed out the sample one. Yep. Okay, so we've got row 1. It'll look like this. Then we're going to take row 2. And if you're going to press these as, you know, as you create each row, you're going to want to make sure that rows 1 and 3 are pressed in the same direction with row 2 pressed opposite. So you can do ins versus outs, left versus right, you know, that kind of thing. But just make sure that they're opposite so that that way you can nest your seams when you make the whole leaf block. I am using Aurifil today. I have kind of found that I have fallen in love with it. So it's been my go-to for my piecing lately. Okay, so then we're on to row 3. So we've got 1 half square triangle with the orange up in the top corner, top right corner, with our end piece added to the right. Okay, and then we're going to add our stem unit. Make sure the stem points up to the left, not like this. That would be a really weird leaf. Okay, so from basically the center of our block and down and out. And sorry for the phone, you guys. I typically like to walk around with it in my pocket so that I'm not chasing it around all day. All right, so again, I'm going to go ahead and press my 3 rows in opposite directions so that way I can get them to nest nicely. Okay, so 1 and 3 in the same direction. I don't know if this is against the rules or not, but sometimes I'll finger press them first to really like, because these are small, right? So I'll kind of like use my nail to press them first. And then I'll apply the iron. I just feel like I'm better in control that way sometimes. Okay, and then so we've got row 1, row 3, row 2, I'm going to press to the middle because I did the other ones out.
Hi, there you are. Sorry, your phones are messed up.
All right. So now we're going to sew these together to make our leaf.
Sure.
And now these should just kind of slide and lock right in place. Okay. You know, I kind of adopted the whatever works for me, right? So that's kind of where my mentality has gone lately. And if I have to finger press it first, gosh darn it, I'm gonna do it. Okay, so there is the top part of our leaf. We're going to add our bottom with the stem. And again, these little guys should just slide and lock right in place. If you do need a little bit of help with locking seams and stuff like this, you can use Patrick's favorite pins, the fork pins. Okay, get this started, and then I'll lock the next set of seams here. There we go. Oh, ooh, woohoo. Okay, so then we have our cute little leaf. Look at that. Okay, so I'm just going to press whatever way to make them flat. Okay, there's no other additional matching seams when we go to sew this into the project, okay?
Okay, sounds good. Everybody, I guess there is a Mexican thing on Saturday. So, yeah.
All right. So you're actually going to need to make 3 of those units, okay? So I've got 3 here. Do-do. Okay? So now we are going to kind of do some last little pieces and then really building our kitty cat. All right, so we're going to take a Y and our EE piece. It's going to get sewn to the right side, like so. Okay, we'll press that probably to the green so that it doesn't show up under our white. Then you're going to take the DD fabric and your last little BB pieces. Stitch these to either side. This is his collar. Isn't it cute? So tiny. With how small these pieces are, it's like you really could be sewing out a little kitten. Okay, so to either short side, then go ahead and press. Looking ahead in the directions, I know I pressed the pieces that this is going to get sewn to towards the white, so I'm really trying to get these to press. I'm going to try and get these to press towards the green, okay? Okay, set that one aside, and then the last one is a Z piece and this little unit that we made. Okay, so they're gonna go together like that with the little white corner in the bottom right. All right, and then we're gonna really start to build our kitty cat. All right, let me press that. I'm going to press it towards the black fabric. You could still press it towards the white fabric just for the fact that you already have seams on this side, so it could get a little bulky in this little area right here, but I'm one that I don't really want to see it behind my white, so we're gonna go that way, see how it goes. Okay, so we're going to kind of build our body and head here. So I'm gonna make him first. So find my little ears. Okay, then we need the D, the one I had to label. Okay, ears go up. Okay, so we're gonna do stitch the ears to the head. Hopefully this part will kind of go by a bit faster now that all the little pieces are done. Okay, so ears to the head, then our collar. Okay, so that's going to get stitched down here. Hello, Miss Pat. Okay, then from the collar, we're going to add the body piece, which is the one that's almost identical to the head that I had to make sure I labeled E. Okay, and the way that I also knew that, especially since I labeled them, but remember the D had the white corners at the bottom, E had the corners up at the top. Okay, but it's super easy to get them flipped around, so that's why I had to make sure I labeled them. Alrighty. Okay, so there is our head and beginnings of our body. Okay, then I'm going to press all this. All right, so to the left of this, we're going to take an O piece and attach this unit that we made down to the bottom of this, and then this gets sewn to the left of our cat. So this green piece needs to be sewn so that it'll snug right up to the cat and not outside. Okay, press it, and then we'll stitch it to this side here, like that. Alrighty, and then on the right side, we're going to take the unit that we made with our S and added that little corner of black here, so that way his body continues. All right, so then we're going to press all of this. Okay, and then we've got this here. And then we're going to make a pinwheel. So all those little half square triangles that we made, okay, we're going to lay them out so that our same fabrics alternate: orange, yellow, orange, yellow, orange, yellow, orange, yellow. Okay. So we're going to make a cute little pinwheel. So we'll do 2 and then 2 and then the 2s together. And these half square triangles were trimmed down to 1 1/4 inches, so they are on the itsy bitsy side. Okay, easy to just chain piece those and snip. And before I press them, I do kind of like to I will attach them together before I press them. Okay, so they're just kind of a little bit easier to maneuver sometimes. They have a little bit more give. Right. Come on. All right, let's see how we did here. Not too shabby. Okay, so there's our pinwheel. And for it being such a small little piece, it is a little on that bulky side in the center. So if you're able to, I never remember how to do it, get it to where your seams lay flat in the center, I would say go for it. Okay, so once you've made your pinwheel, we're going to stitch 2 M pieces, one on either side. There are a bit of tiny pieces, yes. Nothing like the schoolhouse one, though. That schoolhouse one was, whew. Okay, so we're gonna do an M piece to each side. I'll press this. They look like little candy corns. Okay, so we've got something like that. And then this is where we're going to add our little opposite peak and valley units, okay? So obviously peak at the top, valley at the bottom. This is essentially making our pumpkin. Okay, so the schoolhouse was wow. That's a great way to put it, Anita. I will say, I think this is the smallest little pinwheel I've ever made, though. But it is so cute. All right, so there's the top. We'll add the bottom. And when you're looking at your pumpkin, you're going to have those white corners on the left and the black corners on the right. All right, I'll press these. And then to this unit is the bottom of our body. So this is our C fabric. That's going to get stitched to the same side with the black corners. It's in my pocket, but where's the one that you just had? All right, so then black goes to black. All right. Then we're going to make the rest of his tail. So we're going to take this unit attach it to this unit and attach it to our Q fabric all in one long strip. So those of you who have been doing this, if you're still watching, there is the possibility, which is what I'm doing with my samples that I'm doing on live, of creating it into a quilt. So who of you would be interested in wanting to kind of purchase like a finishing kit? So it'll have sashing and cornerstones and stuff like that. Or is everybody making them into just a little banner that you change out monthly? Okay, so we have this unit, then we have this unit, and these are going to get sewn together, but this way. Okay, so this is like his tail, the curl of a tail. Okay, and yeah, I'm just kind of trying to figure out what those fabrics would be and stuff, so I just was trying to see who might maybe want one. All right, then once you have those two units put together, we're gonna take the X fabric, stitch that to the top.
Oh, you know what? Okay. It was in the little clear package, like the plastic.
No worries, Nancy. Thank you.
Is that it? Yeah.
Okay, so we've got our X fabric on the top. I'm going to press all of this. We're almost done, you guys.
Oh, I'm sorry. What did you say? I just figured. Okay. I'm sorry. Want me to call her? She can yell at me. Yeah. Yeah. I'll do that.
Okay, we're going to attach the pumpkin below our cat here. Okay, so we're going to make that one unit. So I know when you use the, oops, sorry guys, when you create the quilt, their goal to make that like patchworky border is to use a lot of your leftovers. And then the finishing kit would just be like, basically, like I said, the sashing and the cornerstones. I will obviously use as much of my leftover fabrics as possible. But a lot of my leftover fabrics, I've almost made 2 of each of the blocks. So, I probably won't have as many leftovers. Okay, and then our tail is going to get sewn to the right side of our cat. And if you guys haven't seen the finished, like what the quilt looks like, I can show you guys again. They include a picture of it, I think, in every pattern. But I can only imagine there's probably still leftovers. Okay, so we've got the cat with a tail. I think that's so cute. Okay, then we've got 2 pea fabrics. Those are going to go on left and right sides. Oop, lost my thread. Oops. Wrong button. Okay, flip this over, stitch another pea fabric to the other side. Whoops. Throw your block on the floor. Don't forget to do that. It's a must. At least one time. Okay, so once those are done, we're gonna make our little set of using the leaf blocks. Okay, so they're all going to point to the left, but if you want to be crazy and do one opposite or something like that, you do you. Okay, so in between and on the sides of all these units, we're gonna place our W pieces. So normally when I have a strip like this that I'm putting together, I will do my center one with the sashing or whatever on each side. On the left and right side. Okay, then with that being in the center, I will add my unit on each side. So I'd kind of build center out is usually what I do. But again, I've found if it works for me, then I stick to it. And if it works for you somewhere else or some way else, you do that. Okay, and we'll do one more going this way. All right, and then we're gonna add those last W pieces to the left and right of our strip here. Now, when I go to press these, I am gonna press them with all of the seams going towards the center little strips, just because there's already so much bulk going on towards I'm sorry guys, this one's taken so long. There's so much going on in this little thing. Okay, so then I'm going to press this whole strip. This got stuck on something. All right, then we have our double A strips. That's gonna go on the top and bottom of our leaves here. Okay, so one to the top, one to the bottom. Okay, and then finally we can attach the leaves to the top of our cat. For whatever reason, that last double A strip that I did ended up being a little bit longer than my strips with the leaves. So that's why there was a little bit hanging over. Probably me missing a 1/2 inch or something. And then you finally have a V piece that gets sewn to the very bottom underneath our cat. And then our block is complete. Woo! Sorry about that. Just bounced you guys right off the cabinet there. All right, voila. I'll press the top and bottom strips really quick just so you guys can see the full thing. But it does need a really good press and steam. All right, so here we are. There is our block. Isn't he cute? All right, thanks so much, you guys, for sticking around. And hopefully you guys have a great time at DDE tomorrow. And I will see you tomorrow if you're coming to class. Virtually, that is. All right, thanks so much. Bye-bye.